Have you ever wondered why, even after decades together, some men seem drawn to one very intimate act in a way that feels almost instinctual? What if I told you that understanding this desire could completely change how you experience love, pleasure, and connection, especially after 50? Welcome to Talia Talks Love, where we explore the deeper truths of relationships, intimacy, and desire. Today we're diving into a fascinating topic: why men have a deep instinctual desire for one very intimate act, and how understanding this can transform love, connection, and pleasure, especially for women over 50. We want to share something important with you. We read all your comments and try our best to answer your questions and health concerns. If you have any health issues or doubts, you can ask us freely. We're here to help. Now, let's talk about today's topic. I'm Laura Kent, and today I want you to stay with me for something deeper than it may first appear. Because what we're really talking about is not just a physical act, but a language, one that often goes unspoken, yet carries powerful meaning between two people who share a life together. Have you ever paused and asked yourself, why does something so private hold such significance for him? Why does it matter, even after years, even after familiarity has replaced novelty? Let's take a moment to understand this. For many women, especially after 50, this topic can bring up mixed feelings. There may be curiosity, hesitation, even discomfort. And that's completely natural, because for years, conversations around intimacy have either been silenced or oversimplified. Rarely do we explore the emotional depth behind desire. But here's the truth that often goes unspoken. For many men, this desire isn't impulsive or shallow. It's not just about physical satisfaction. It is layered with instinct, yes, but also with emotion, attention, and a deep sense of connection that words alone often fail to express. And when you begin to see it this way, something shifts. Over the years, I've spoken with countless women who quietly carried questions about their bodies and their place in intimacy, questions they didn't feel comfortable voicing, doubts they kept to themselves. Maybe you've felt that too, a subtle wondering. Am I still attractive in the same way? Does my partner see me the same way he once did? Why does this still matter to him, when everything else has changed? These questions deserve compassion, not silence. Because what many women misunderstand is this: when a man expresses desire in this way, it is very often not about taking, but about giving. There is something profoundly intentional in the way attention is directed. It requires presence. It requires care. It asks him to slow down, to tune in, to respond, not just physically, but emotionally. And in that space, something beautiful happens. He isn't just reacting, he's offering. Offering reassurance, offering admiration, offering a kind of closeness that goes beyond conversation. It becomes his way of saying, without speaking, I see you. I value you. You matter to me. And perhaps even more importantly, your experience matters to me. Think about that for a second. How often, in everyday life, do we truly feel that level of undivided attention? This is why the emotional fulfillment tied to this act runs deeper, a bridge between the physical and the emotional. And yet, for many women, especially later in life, this is where resistance quietly begins. Not because they don't care, but because something inside feels uncertain. Body changes over time. That's natural. Hormonal shifts, aging. Sometimes the mind becomes louder than the body. There can be thoughts like, what if I'm not the same anymore? What if I don't respond the way I used to? What if I'm being judged? Let's pause here, because these thoughts, while common, are often rooted in fear, not reality. In reality, what's happening is far more affirming. I remember speaking with a woman in her late 60s. She had a quiet hesitation in her voice. She didn't understand why it still mattered. And I gently told her this: it matters because you matter. Because for him, this isn't about age. His desire for you hasn't disappeared. It has simply matured, and that's a powerful shift to recognize. When you see this as appreciation, something softens inside. The walls begin to lower. The experience becomes about presence. And presence is where intimacy truly lives. Let's take this a little deeper. Biology is only part of it. Because what amplifies sensation is not just touch, it's trust, it's comfort, it's emotional safety. When those elements are present, everything changes. The body responds differently, the mind relaxes, the experience becomes fuller, richer, more meaningful. And this is where many women discover something surprising, that their capacity for pleasure haven't diminished with age. It has simply been waiting to be acknowledged again. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you allowed yourself to fully receive without overthinking it? Not analyzing, not questioning, just experiencing. For many, it's been a long time, because the focus shifted away from self-awareness and towards self-consciousness. And that disconnects us. But here's the beautiful part. That connection can be rebuilt, gently, gradually, without pressure. It begins with something simple: permission. Permission to feel, permission to explore, permission to be present. Confidence in intimacy doesn't come from appearance. It comes from acceptance. Accepting your body as it is. And that authenticity is deeply attractive, not just to your partner, but to yourself. When a woman reconnects with her own pleasure, something shifts in the dynamic of the relationship. There is less hesitation, more openness, less doubt, more trust, and that energy is felt. It creates a kind of feedback loop, where appreciation leads to confidence and openness deepens connection. Over time, this becomes the foundation of a more fulfilling and resilient relationship. Not because everything is perfect, but because both partners feel seen, valued, and engaged. Emotional alignment. Before we come to the end, I want you to reflect on this gently. What if nothing about you is less now, only different? What if your capacity for connection hasn't faded, but evolved? What if the uncertainty is an invitation to rediscover your body, to experience intimacy not as something of the past, but as something still unfolding? I'm Laura Kent, and I want you to carry this with you. You are allowed to feel desired. You are allowed to experience pleasure. There is no expiration date on connection. There is no age limit on intimacy. There is only awareness. So take a quiet moment tonight. Reflect. And maybe, just maybe, allow yourself to soften into the experience. Because sometimes, the deepest transformations don't come from doing more, they come from allowing more. If this resonated, let me know. Share your thoughts or write heart connection in the comments. I'll see you in the next conversation.